I used to drive an hour to work, through a lot of empty farmland. There was a stretch with no lights, no houses, just this two-lane road that curved along a dried-out riverbed. One morning, around 5:30 a.m., I saw a car ahead of me, maybe 200 feet out. Nothing weird. It was a little Honda or something, with its right blinker on, just blinking. No turn to take, not for another half mile. I figured they were just zoning out, maybe forgot it was on. I gained on them slowly. Speed limit was 45. I was doing maybe 50. As I got close, I realized the blinker wasn't just on, it was stuck. The light would blink, then freeze halfway on, then blink twice fast, then off completely. Not the normal rhythm, kind of like it was hesitating. I passed the car carefully. It was going about 30. I glanced over and saw a woman in the driver's seat, maybe late 50s, hands at 10 and 2, eyes wide open, just staring forward. Didn't look at me. Her face was pale, like paper white. No makeup, no expression, just locked forward. I got this cold drop in my stomach, like when you miss a stare. I sped up a little and checked my rear view. Her car was still going slow, still blinking wrong, still nothing to turn into. Next morning, same time, same place. I see the same car, exact same. Right blinker on, no turn, same speed. This time I don't pass. I hang back. I watch it until the fork where you can turn right. It doesn't, just keeps going. Still blinking, still wrong. That happened 3 more times that week. Always the same car, always the same woman, same wrong blinker. On the 5th day, I passed her again, and this time, her head was slightly turned toward me. Still staring, still wide-eyed, no pupils. I swear to God, her eyes were just cloudy white, like those blank contact lenses. But somehow, worse. Never saw the car again after that. I tried telling a coworker. He just said maybe I was falling asleep at the wheel, but I was awake. I still remember that blinker's rhythm. I can hear it sometimes when I'm stopped at red lights. Not blinking, hesitating.
I worked at a cafe that used to be a meat shop in the 1940s. The kitchen still had this massive walk-in fridge from back then, big enough to stand 3 people, shoulder to shoulder. It sealed when shut, and had those old latch-style handles inside and out. It made this slow sound, like, oh, constantly, like it was sighing. One night, I was closing alone for the first time. My boss had to leave early, and the only thing left was to stock the next day's stuff. I went into the fridge, grabbed the eggs and milk, turned to leave, and the door clicked shut. Not slammed, not pulled, just clicked. I stood there holding a crate of yogurt for a full second. My first thought was, okay, old door, maybe it shifted. I put the crate down and tried the handle. It didn't move. Not stuck. Loose. Like it wasn't attached to anything. That's when the lights went out inside. The fridge had 2 strip lights overhead that flickered sometimes, but never turned completely off. But now, it was pitch black. I couldn't even see the outline of the shelves. I started banging. No one would hear me, the cafe was closed. I started to hyperventilate. Then I heard it. 3 knocks. From the other side of the fridge. Not pounding. Like, deliberate knocks. 1. Pause. 1. Pause. 1. I started yelling. Nothing. Then a voice, my boss's voice, said, "Hang tight. I'll grab the keys." I froze, because she had already left. She had texted me 10 minutes ago, saying she got home, and the voice had said it, from inside the fridge. The light snapped back on. The door handle turned. The door opened. No one was there. I didn't finish the restock. I sat in my car, shaking for an hour. I didn't quit. I couldn't afford to, but I never went in that fridge, alone, again. When I told my boss, she laughed, and said the old owners used to say it was temperamental. That was all. No one else believes me, but I've heard that sighing sound in my dreams since. And sometimes, when I open my fridge at home, the light hesitates, just for a second, before turning on.
When I was a kid, we had this pond behind our farmhouse, big enough to swim in, though we weren't supposed to. My dad said it never took kindly to being disturbed, which I thought was just old farmer talk for, "Don't drown, idiot." One summer, I went out there with a slingshot to hit frogs. Yeah, I know. Dumb kid stuff. I was aiming at this one fat one, near a cattail, when I noticed something, just under the surface. Looked like fabric. I stepped closer and saw a girl, maybe 9 or 10, pale, dark hair floating around her face. Eyes wide open. Mouth too, not moving. Then she did move. Just her fingers, slowly curling toward me. I screamed and ran. My dad ran out and grabbed me. I was sobbing, saying there was a girl in the pond. He didn't even look. He just held my shoulders and said, "Don't talk about what you didn't see." Then he took me back inside. Years later, after my dad passed, I asked my uncle about it. He got real quiet and said, "Your dad used to say that pond watched him sleep. I've never told anyone else. My wife says I dreamed it. Maybe I did, but the pond's still there, and it still makes me shiver when I drive past."
I used to work night maintenance at a hospital. Not a nurse. Just facility stuff. Most of it was boring. Change bulbs. Fix a leaky sink. Check boiler pressure. One part of my route included a tunnel that connected the older wings underground. Ran past morgue storage. And used patient records. That kind of thing. The tunnel was gross. Damp. Too cold. And it echoed way more than it should have. You could whisper. And it'd bounce back in your ear. Like someone was repeating it. Anyway, one night, I'm walking through with a toolbox, when I hear, humming, female voice. Not singing, just a tuneless hum, like someone passing time. I thought it was a nurse at first. Happens. But the hum didn't echo like it should. It was flat, like it was already in my ear. I stopped walking. The hum kept going. I called out. "Hello?" Nothing. It didn't stop. Until I turned around. Then I saw her. She wasn't a ghost. She wasn't floating or glowing. She was just there. Around 60. Hospital gown. Barefoot. Hunched. Short white hair. Her mouth was open. But she wasn't humming. She was watching me. I said, "Ma'am? You okay?" She didn't answer. I took one step toward her. And she turned. Stiff. Like a bad animatronic. And walked into a side hall. No limp. No sound from her feet. Just gone. I ran after her. Had to. Policy. The hallway was empty. No one around. Nothing on security footage. Nothing in the incident logs. 3 weeks later, a nurse tells me a woman matching that description died in that hallway in 1997. Wrong floor. Wrong meds. Cold case. I check. There's no mention of a patient like that on record. Still, every time I walk that tunnel, I hum without thinking. Same tune. Don't know where I picked it up. Don't want to know.
I've never really told this right, because it sounds like nothing until you see it, and I can't show you, but it still messes me up. When I was 14, I used to walk this stretch between our neighborhood and the convenience store to get sodas or whatever. About halfway, there was a retired guy who sat on his porch every day. Around 5:30 p.m., he wore the same thing. Beige sweater, khakis, reading glasses, always waved politely. Here's the thing, his face never moved, like he'd wave, but the wave was stiff, mechanical. His mouth never opened, and his face had no wrinkles, not even smile lines. His skin was smooth, almost shiny, like a plastic doll head. Once, I dropped my soda and bent to pick it up. When I looked back, he was standing, not on the porch anymore, but at the edge of the lawn, just standing, still waving. No one believed me. My brother thought I was screwing with him. My dad said, "Probably Botox." I decided to film him. I held my phone at waist level and pretended to tie my shoe as I walked past. I checked the footage later. There was no one on the porch or the lawn, just the chair, empty, gently rocking. I went back to check. Still no one. A week later, the house was dark, curtains drawn. I knocked. No answer. We moved the next year. I still think about him. I even dream about him. Always standing there, waving, but never getting older. Just smooth and silent and watching.
When I was a little girl, my father bought a tape recorder from a pawn shop. This was in the early 1960s. So it was bulky. Reels, dials, Weighed like a brick. He used it to record us talking, telling stories, reading from books. Said it helped him remember we were real. When he worked night shifts. One day, I was alone in the living room and pressed record. I said my name, the date, the weather. Then I asked, jokingly, "Is anyone there?" Silence. Then a voice, not mine, not anyone's I knew, whispered, "You're not supposed to ask." I froze, played it back. Same thing, clear as day. I told my mom. She listened. Then without a word, she took the tape out and burned it in the kitchen sink. She never let me use the recorder again. It sat on a shelf until I was 20, then vanished. I asked her about it. Before she died, she just said, "Some things need silence." I still talk into my phone sometimes. I never play the recordings back.
I used to work in a high-rise downtown, 28 floors, standard corporate offices. Every day, I took the elevator from the lobby to floor 23, sometimes with others, sometimes alone. No issues. For over a year, it was just a boring, vertical commute. Then one Wednesday, something changed. I got on at the lobby like always, pressed 23, the doors closed. I looked down at my phone. When I looked up, I was on floor 7, but the button for 23 was still lit. The elevator hadn't stopped, hadn't opened. No one had gotten on or off. It dinged. The door opened, but not to 7. The hallway was wrong. Dim yellow light, wallpaper peeling, carpet soaked, like it had flooded and never dried. No sound at all, not the hum of lights, not HVAC, nothing, and no people. Then the lights cut out, just darkness, not total, but that eerie, blue emergency glow. I pressed close door a dozen times. The doors didn't respond. Then, I heard footsteps, not quick, not loud, just wet, like bare feet on carpet, walking slow. I held my breath. The elevator reset, screen blinked off, then came back. It said, lobby. The doors shut, no button pressed. It took me back down. I stood in the lobby for several minutes before trying again. That time, it worked. Straight to floor 23, nothing weird. I checked with maintenance. They said there's no level between floors 7 and 8, no renovations, no recorded malfunctions. I never took that elevator alone again, and I never told my coworkers, but I timed the ride afterward. Lobby to floor 23 takes 27 seconds. That day, it took nearly 4 minutes.
My boyfriend and I went camping in northern Maine 2 summers ago. Isolated site, fire pit, small river nearby, absolutely peaceful. First night was uneventful. Second night, we heard crunching outside the tent. Around 2 a.m., we froze, thought it was a bear or a raccoon. Then we heard coughing, human coughing. We waited, nothing else happened. In the morning, we checked, no footprints, no sign anyone had been there. Third night, same thing, crunching, coughing, then a voice, low, wheezy, said, "This isn't your spot." We shouted. My boyfriend grabbed the hatchet. We unzipped the tent. Nothing there. Full view. No one. We packed up the next morning. As we were leaving, we saw a man, about 100 yards into the woods, just standing, shirtless, pale, watching us. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak, just watched. We called the rangers. They found nothing. The weirdest part, there was a burned circle in the dirt where our tent had been. We hadn't lit a fire there. No ashes, just blackened soil, like something had been erased. No one believes us. They say we were tired, or high, or scaring ourselves. But I remember that voice, like it came from under the ground.
I grew up in a duplex in the 1970s. The other half was always empty. The landlord said he used it for storage. I believed him, but sometimes, I'd hear voices through the wall. Not loud, not angry, just talking. Sometimes a boy laughing. One day, when I was about 8, I found a crack in the plaster behind my bookshelf. I pushed, and a panel popped loose. It revealed a small crawl space between the walls. I crawled in. At the end of the narrow space, there was a little wooden chair and an old TV, unplugged. It was on, playing static, just static, but I heard a boy's voice. He said, "Don't sit down. If you sit, you stay." I crawled out so fast I scraped up my hands. I told my dad. He went to look, came back quiet, said he patched the wall, told me not to go behind bookshelves. A week later, the duplex next door had someone move in, a woman, and her son. The boy never spoke, never looked at me, never left the house, but I swear, I heard him laughing through the wall again. Same voice. Then one day, they were gone. Left furniture behind. Dishes in the sink. Just vanished. When I moved out years later, I checked behind the shelf again. The panel was still there. The crawl space was empty. But the TV was still warm to the touch.
This happened in a boutique hotel in Seattle. I was there for a solo weekend. No work, no kids, just books, and overpriced coffee. The room was modern. Lots of glass, mirror surfaces. One mirror was above the desk, full frame, wide. I was writing postcards, I think. I looked up and saw myself in the mirror, sitting exactly where I should be, except my reflection wasn't moving like I was. I blinked. The reflection didn't. I scratched my cheek. Nothing. Then it moved, slowly, lifted its hand, mirrored me. After I'd already done it, there was a delay, like it was catching up, but not like video lag. It was intentional. I stood up. The reflection stood too. Same lag. I leaned in close. It smiled. I hadn't smiled. I backed away and left the room, sat in the hallway for maybe 10 minutes, heart pounding. Eventually, I went back in. Everything looked normal. I checked the mirror. My reflection was doing what I was doing. I told the front desk. They sent a cleaning manager, checked 4 double pane issues, brushed it off, but I left that mirror, covered with a towel, the rest of my stay. Every time I walked past it, I got this feeling in my spine, like I was about to be touched, but only from the inside of the mirror. I was doing laundry in the basement of my college apartment building. Old concrete walls, metal machines, fluorescent lights that flickered like they were having a seizure. I was alone, or I thought I was. About 5 minutes into my dry cycle, I heard a voice, muffled, like someone talking from behind a wall. At first, I thought it was a neighbor, through the vents. Then it got clearer. A woman's voice, whispering something I couldn't make out. It was coming from the dryer. I paused the cycle. Silence. I turned it back on, and the whispering came back. This time, I leaned in. It wasn't English. Or maybe it was, but scrambled. Not fast, not angry, just soft and constant. Then a second voice joined it. A man, deeper, breathy, sounded like he was replying. I opened the dryer while it was running. Nothing inside but my socks and 2 t-shirts, still warm. No voices. I left the laundry. Never went back down there alone again. Eventually, I moved, but sometimes, rarely, I hear that same whispering when I'm near heat or metal, like static, like a conversation I'm not supposed to understand.
I worked in residential renovation for almost 30 years, retired now, seen all sorts of stuff, weird wiring, buried doll heads, basements that should have been condemned. But this one still gets me. We were gutting an old farmhouse in upstate New York, built around 1890. Big wraparound porch, 3 chimneys, plaster walls. Client wanted to open up the attic space and put in skylights. When we opened the main attic wall, we found another room, small, hidden, not on any of the plans. The room had 7 windows. I counted them twice. 7 windows in a 12 by 12 room, 1 on every wall, and 3 on one side, like a wrap cluster. But from the outside, the house only had 6 windows facing that direction. We checked, mapped it, measured it, still 6. Inside, there were 7. We removed the drywall. Expected a false wall or mirror trick. Nothing. Solid frame. Matched the rest of the structure. We even opened the extra window from inside and stuck our heads out. Still saw only 6 from the ground. Took photos. Client called an architect friend. He said the angle might distort the layout, but that didn't explain why from the inside you could see daylight through all 7. Then one day, the 7th window stopped showing light, just dark, even during full sun. We boarded it up, left it. I told the client I wouldn't touch that part of the house again. He agreed. A few weeks later, he called to say the window had come back, but it didn't match the others anymore. The light was different, cold, too white. We stopped answering his calls after that.